मीटिंग मुग्दू जरा रतन सूत्र पढ़ना है ना.
सम्मा सम्बुद्धो स्वागतो येन भगवता धम्मो सुपटिपन्नो यस्य भगवतो सावक संगो तमयं भगवन्तं सधम्मं ससंगं इमे सक्कारे यथार्हन्नार पेते अभिपूजयाम साधुनो भन्ते भगवा सुचिरपरिनिब्बुतोऽपि पश्चिमा जनतानुकम्पमानसा इमे सक्कारे दुर्गतपनाकारभूते पटिगणातु अम्हाकं दीघ्रत हिताय सुखाय सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवा बुद्धं भगवन्तं अभिवादे भगवता धम्मो धम्मं नमस्सामि
सुपटिपन्नो
भगवतो सावक संघो संघं नमामि
हन्दमयं बुद्धस्य भगवतो पूर्वभागनमकारं करोमसे
नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स
त्रिरत्न वंदना हन्दमयं रतनतय प्रणाम गाथा यो चैव संवेद परिकीर्तन पाठं च प्रणामसि
बुद्धो सुशुद्धो करुणा मानवो यो चन्त शुद्ध बरज्ञानलोचनो वन्दामि
बुद्धम्
अहमादरेण तं धम्मोपदीपो वियतः सत्तुनो यो मग्गपाकामतभेदभिन्नको लोकुत्तरो यो च तदत्तदीपनो वन्दामि
धम्मम्
अहमादरेण तं
संघो सुखी
ताभ्यतिखेतसन्नितो यो दिट्ठसन्तो सुगतानुभूतको
लोलपहीनो अरियो सुमेधसो वन्दामि संघम् अहम् आदरेण तं पुण्यं मया यममम सबुपद्दवा
माहन्तु ते तस्य प्रभावसिद्धिया इति तथागतो लोके उपन्नो अर्हं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो धम्मो च देशितो नियानिको उपशमिको परिनिब्बानिको सम्बोधगामी सुगत पवेदितो नयं तं धम्मं श्रुत्वा एवं जानामः
जातिपि दुःखा
जरापि दुःखा मरणमपि दुःखं शोकपरिदेव दुःखदोमनस्य उपायासापि दुःखा अप्येहि संपयोगो दुःखो पियैहि विप्रयोगो
दुःखो
यमपीच्छं न लभते तमपि दुःखं संकित्तेन पञ्चुपादानखण्डा दुःखा चेतदिदं रूपोपादानखण्डो वेदनोपादानखण्डो संज्ञोपादानखण्डो संखारोपादानखण्डो विज्ञानोपादानखण्डो तेषां परिज्ञाय धर्मान्
सुभगवा
एवं बहुलं भावके विनेति एवं भागा च पनस्य भगवतो सावकेषु अनुशासने बहुला पवर्तते रूपम् अनित्यं वेदना अनिच्चा संज्ञा अनिच्चा संखारा अनिच्चा विज्ञानं अनिच्चं रूपं अनत्ता वेदना अनत्ता संज्ञा अनत्ता संखारा अनत्ता विज्ञानं अनत्ता
सभी संखारा
अनिच्चाति सब्बे धम्मा अनत्ताति जातिया जरा मरणेन शोके परिदेवे हि दोमनस्य दुःखो तिन्ना दुःखपरेता अप्येव नामिमस्य केवलस्य दुःखकन्दस्य अन्तक्रियाय पञ्ज्ञायेताति तं भगवन्तं शरणं गता धम्मं च सङ्गं च तस्य भगवतो शासनं यथा सति यथा बलं मनसि करोमा अनुपटिपजामा हिमस्य केवलस्य दुःखकन्दस्य अन्तक्रियाय संवर्धतु अब हम रतन सूत्र का पाठ करेंगे।
Connected to OnePlus 3G.
Bhumma Ratana Sutta. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Yanidha bhutani samagatani bhumma nivaya niva antalikhe sabbeva bhuta sumana bhavantu අතෝපි සක්කච්ච සුනන්තු භාසිතං තස්මාහි භූතා නිසාමේත සබ්බේ මෙත්තං කරෝත මානුසියා පජාය දිවාච රත්තෝච හරන්තියේ බලින් තස්මාහිනේ රක්ඛත අපමත්තා යං කිංචි විත්තං ඉදවා හුරං වා සග්ගේසු වායං රතනං පනීතං නනෝ සමං අත්ථි තථාගතේන ඉදම්පි බුද්ධේ රතනං පනීතං ඒතේන සච්චේන සුවත්ථි හෝතු කයං විරාගං අමතං පනීතං යදජ්ජගා සක්්‍ය මුනි සමාහිතෝ නතේන ධම්මේන සමත්ථි කිංචි ඉදම්පි ධම්මේ රතනං පනීතං ඒතේන සච්චේන සුවත්ථි හෝතු යං බුද්ධ සෙට්ඨෝ පරිවන්න ඊසුචින් සමාධිමානං තරිකඤ්ඤමාහු සමාධිනාතේන සමෝන විජ්ජති ඉදම්පි ධම්මේ රතනං පනීතං ඒතේන සච්චේන සුවත්ථි හෝතු යේ පුග්ගලා අට්ඨ සතම්ප සත්තා චත්තාරි ඒතානි යුගානි හොන්ති තේ දක්ඛිනේයා සුගතස්ස ශාවකා ඒතේසු දින්නානි මහඵලානි ඉදම්පි සංඝේ රතනං පනීතං ඒතේන සච්චේන සුවත්ථි හෝතු යේ සුප්පයුත්තා මනසා දල්හේන නික්කාමිනෝ ගෝතම සාසනම්හි තේ පත්තිපත්තා අමතං විගය්‍ය ලද්ධා මුදා නිබ්බුතින් බුඤ්ජමානා ඉදම්පි සංඝේ රතනං පනීතං ඒතේන සච්චේන සුවත්ථි හෝතු යතින්ද කීලෝ පඨවින් සිතෝසියා චතුබ්බි වාතේබි අසම්පකම්පියෝ තතෝපමං සප්පුරිසං වදාමි යෝ අරිය සච්චානි අවෙච්ච පස්සති ඉදම්පි සංඝේ රතනං පනීතං ඒතේන සච්චේන සුවත්ති හෝතු. යේ අරිය සච්චානි විභාවයන්ති ගම්භීර පඤ්ඤේන සුදේසිතානි කිංචාපිතේ හොන්ති බුසප්ප මත්තා නති භවං අට්ඨමං ආදියන්ති ඉදම්පි සංඝේ රතනං පනීතං ඒතේන සච්චේන සුවත්ති හෝතු. සහවස්ස දස්සන සම්පදාය තයස්සු ධම්මා ජහිතා භවಂತಿ සක්කාය දිට්ඨි විචිකිච්ඡිතංච සීලබ්බතං වාපි යදත්ති කිංචි චතුහපායේහිච විප්පමුත්තෝ චච්චාභිඨානානි අබබ්බෝකාතුං ඉදම්පි සංඝේ රතනං පනීතං ඒතේන සච්චේන සුවත්ති හෝතු. කිංචාපිසෝ කම්මං කරෝති පාපකං කායේන වාචා උදචේතසාවා අභබ්බෝසෝ තස්ස පටිච්ඡාදාය අභබ්බතා දිට්ඨ පදස්ස වුත්තා ඉදම්පි සංඝේ රතනං පනීතං ඒතේන සච්චේන සුවත්ති හෝතු. වනප්ප ගුම්බේ යථා පුස්සිතග්ගේ ගිම්හාන මාසේ පඨමස්මින් ගිම්හේ තතෝපමං ධම්මවරං අදේසයි නිබ්බාන ගාමින් පරමං හිතාය ඉදම්පි බුද්ධේ රතනං පනීතං ඒතේන සච්චේන සුවත්ති හෝතු. වරෝවරඤ්ඤු වරදෝ වරාහරෝ අනුත්තරෝ ධම්මවරං අදේසයි ඉදම්පි බුද්ධේ රතනං පනීතං ඒතේන සච්චේන සුවත්ති හෝතු. කීනං පුරාණං නවං නත්ති සම්භවං විරත්ත චිත්තා ආයතිකේ භවස්මින් තේකීන බීජා අවිරුල්හි ඡන්දා නිබ්බන්ති ධීරා යථා යම් පදීපෝ ඉදම්පි සංඝේ රතනං පනීතං ඒතේන සච්චේන සුවත්ති හෝතු. යානීද භූතානි සමාගතානි භුම්මානි වායානිව අන්තලික්කේ තථාගතං දේව මනුස්ස පූජිතං බුද්ධං නමස්සාම සුවත්ති හෝතු. යානීද භූතානි සමාගතානි බුම්මානි වායානිව අන්තලික්ඛේ තථාගතං දේව මනුස්ස පූජිතං ධම්මං නමස්සාම සුවත්ති හෝතු. යානීද භූතානි සමාගතානි බුම්මානි වායානිව අන්තලික්ඛේ තථාගතං දේව මනුස්ස පූජිතං සංඝං නමස්සාම සුවත්ති හෝතු. ඒතේන සච්ච වජ්ජේන සුත්ථිතේ හෝතු සම්බදා. ඒතේන සච්ච වජ්ජේන සුත්ථිතේ හෝතු සම්බදා. ඒතේන සච්ච වජ්ජේන සුත්ථිතේ හෝතු සම්බදා.
We will now meditate and listen to reflection by LUANG POR SUMEDHO on adapting to change with wisdom.
So this morning, being aware, it's like this. You may be wondering where Ajahn Asoko is. And he has something in his eye that is I think it's his right eye, and so he's got a bandage over it, and he's resting this morning. But even if you've got something in your right eye and you're resting, you can still be aware. So don't worry about him. So the body's like this, just during this retreat, we've been here a week now. This is Friday, and just observe the result of living in this, with the 8 precepts and the kind of focusing on the awareness, being aware, being the awareness itself, refraining from chit-chat, talking, getting caught up in worldly conditions, worldly thoughts. You begin to experience the reality of consciousness as peaceful. And that's your true nature. When I talk about when I was a student in Berkeley, protesting the Atomic Energy Commission with peace signs, and then realizing, while carrying the sign, big sign saying peace, I began to kind of awaken the fact that I didn't know what peace is myself. So here I am, protesting, wanting other people, wanting the government or whatever to be peaceful, when I'm not peaceful. So this is like an awakening insight. I consider that an important insight. Suddenly, instead of blaming my lack of peace, my confusion and so forth as an individual person on, because the government isn't what I think it should be, or, all kinds of ideas I might hold, begin to see that peace is our true nature. And once you begin to realize that, then how the world moves and changes isn't you're not making demands on it that it can't provide. The world is not peaceful. Its nature is to change, and the world is, individuals with different views, different opinions. So there's endless conflicts because we don't all have the same view, same opinion about what's right and wrong, or political views, or social, religious views. But peace itself is not, it's not something that is personal. It's not like you can make yourself peaceful as a person. When you're trying to get peace and make your mind stop thinking and, imagining some peaceful state, or remembering, holding memories of peaceful meditations, and then you can see the desire to get peace again. Trust yourself to just be aware of that desire to get something you don't have, because you're identifying with the thinking or emotional confusion that you're experiencing in the present. You want to get rid of it. So the direction is always awaken awareness here and now. Peacefulness in the future is an ideal. It's you're imagining being peaceful in the future. That's an image you create of peace. That's not peaceful. Like the idea of peace is itself, a sankhara, and it arises and ceases. So you can't sustain peaceful thoughts for very long. So in this retreat, it's like, encourage you to realize your true nature is peaceful already. It's not something you lack or some people have and other people don't. It's just seeing through the unpeacefulness of habit patterns, thoughts, memories, likes and dislikes. So the key to unlock the prison cell is awareness. That's Buddha or Buddha. Not the word. The word is a condition. But the reality of being aware. And so when refuge in Buddha isn't just an imagined refuge and some kind of metaphysical Buddha, but it's awareness here and now. So this is I used to feel like when I operate from the personal view, from my conditioned personality, when I talk about the first 3 months as a samanera, where I'm just feeling all this anger, resentment, negativity. And something in me, some kind of intuition, instead of trying to get rid of it, which I tried to do in the beginning, tried to suppress these negative thoughts, negative emotions, through meditation technique, concentrating on the rise and fall of my stomach, my abdomen, and then I'd be overwhelmed with, I could do it for a while, and then the mind would wander. And then being alone in a kuti, with no distractions available. So the first time in my life, I was in a situation where I couldn't just, eat food or have a drink or listen to the radio or watch television or use the telephone. None of this was in the monastic life. You had 1 meal a day. That was the most exciting part of the day. And then the rest of the time you're with yourself. Nobody to talk to. What are you going to do? Then you try to do a meditation technique that you've been taught to do, but you have no insight into what you're actually doing. Then I found the repressed anger of 30 years, repressed negativity. So it's like repression is like locking these negative prisoners inside you. Every time a negative thought or angry thought or whatever arises in consciousness, you slam the prison cell door on it. You won't let it out. You're trying to get rid of it or keep it locked in because you're afraid of it. So then the kind of intuitive response to that, when I no longer could control my mind, I just, through meditation technique, I had to just sit there and open the prison cell door and let all the miserable prisoners that I've been they've been incarcerated in me for 30 years out. So it was like, in meditation, when you do have these experiences of a lot of negative and repressed feelings, see them in terms of a cleansing process. It's not personal. It's not like you're going crazy or there's something bad that when you identify with negativity, you see it as something wrong with yourself. But in the Puto, in the knowing, in awareness, negative states, they're impermanent, they're sankharas, they're not self. So mindfulness is allowing, like opening the prison cell door and letting all the prisoners out, because they're going away. So they come through consciousness, so the anger or fear and things arise in consciousness. And then if you see it as some kind of personal and take it personally, then you're going to slam the door on them again. You're going to repress those feelings. Or you can do the opposite. You just reinforce the feelings, reinforce the anger is justified and everybody else is, and the whole world is against you and it's the world's fault. That's a kind of madness where you just indulge in anger and resentment, or you try to repress it. So there's a kind of two extremes, indulgence and resistance. Kama Sukhalikanu Yoko Attakila Matanu Yoko in the Dhammajaka Pavatana Sutta. Buddha said the Dhamma is the Majjhima Bhattibhata, middle way. Kama Sukhalikanu Yoko is indulgence. Attakila Matanu Yoga is resistance. Where awareness is not indulgence or resisting, it's knowing. So by letting these miserable prisoners out of the prison of my mind, then I had this experience of luminosity and non-anger, non-resentment, non-fear. That's the reality of consciousness, that veil that hide, the mental states veil and hide consciousness. So even though it's always peaceful, we grasp or resist the conditions of the mind, the thoughts, the memories, the body itself, and so we get caught in the turmoil of changing samsara, of the worldly cycles, conditioned patterns of behavior. And that's the cause of suffering. So getting back to the First Noble Truth, there is dukkha, there is suffering. Then I say it's a noble truth to be understood. It's not a metaphysical truth. It's not ultimate truth. So that's why it's pointing at itself. Where is suffering just when you think of who's causing me to suffer. It's like reflection, the way it is. It's like this. Thinking is not reflective. It's creating thoughts, judgments about the way it is. So thinking is, and when we say it's like this is a reflective statement, where it's too hot or too cold, or there's when we think about the way it is, then we're not reflecting, we're merely criticizing or describing. So this word reflection, picharana in Thai, they say, picharana tam, is being the puto, the witness, the observer. It's like this. So what you feel right now, physically, the posture is like this. So sitting, you're reflecting on the experience. The experience you're having, that everybody's having at this moment, is sitting, is like this. You're not thinking about how you're sitting. It's not about whether your posture's good or not very good, or whether you're sitting in a chair or on a mat. Then you're thinking, and then you're holding ideals about if you're really a good meditator. The ideal is lotus posture. Lotus posture where, that most people can't manage these days. That's an ideal posture. So if you're holding this ideal posture image, and your existing posture doesn't fit the ideal, then you feel you can't really meditate. You go into a whole realm of doubt and make problems about just the posture. can you meditate as well sitting on the floor or on a chair? So this is, can you really practice meditation sitting on a chair when the ideal posture is sitting on a mat in full lotus? Now these are thoughts, aren't they? They're ideals, they're stereotypes, Buddha images. The Buddha's images are sitting there in full lotus, or in Katsaman in half lotus. Notice the Buddha rupas are icons. You can make images of Buddha, but Buddha in reality is awareness. So, this way we can relate to Buddha because it has a human form. It's a iconic form, an ideal form. And the Western culture has never produced an ideal form of a human being. The sculptures, the religious symbols are not about a human being sitting in perfect, in straight posture, eyes open, and not shutting the senses out, not like the three monkeys, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. It is not putting tape on your mouth, plugs in your ears, and closing your eyes. Buddha's images, their eyes are open, it's an icon of mindfulness. It's an exaggerated human form. So you have flames coming from the top of the head and so forth. These are iconic additions to the human form. The Dhamma, when we take refuge in the Dhamma, it has no form. But we identify with the form of, our own form, our own bodies. So form is important to recognize. We start with the form, with Bhutto, with awareness. And then the Buddha Rupa, at the time of the Buddha, the Lord Buddha in India, there were no Buddha Rupas. They came in later. And I've known Western monks or Western Dhamma teachers who, are against Buddha Rupas because they didn't have Buddha Rupas at the time of the Buddha, and they're just idols that you worship. But that's not the point of an icon. It's not to worship it or project magical powers or perceptions of Buddha onto a Buddha Rupa. It's a reminder, isn't it, of Bhutto, Bhutang Saranang Gacchami. When you look at Buddha Rupas, then you see, you get caught up in worldly thoughts, worldly activities, problems, family problems, and so forth. And then you look at a Buddha Rupa, let it be the catalyst to remind you to take refuge in awareness, rather than just be caught in the momentum of your emotions and habit patterns. So it's how you want to use Buddha Rupas, Buddha images, Dhamma images, because we can relate to Buddha images because they're human form. But Buddha knows Dhamma, so mindfulness knows reality. And reality isn't a form. It's here and now, timeless. It's invisible, but it's the reality of knowing, of awareness. So religious icons, in Christianity you've got the crucifixion, where, I was brought up as a high Anglican, in America, the Episcopal Church, a very high church form of Anglicanism, which, the crucifix is the kind of image that it confronts you all the time. The human form of Jesus nailed to a cross. How does that affect you? It has an effect on your mind when you see it as a religious symbol. It's the human form in the state of agony, nailed to a cross, which is, something that's certainly the expression of the first noble truth: there is suffering. And then one time I was in Paris, near the Eiffel Tower, and all these huge images, monuments to queens and kings and warriors and heroic forms, men, beautifully formed statues in bronze of men, with weapons and muscles and showing power and strength. That's a worldly icon, isn't it? Then of the women, the statues of women were usually queens in the kind of haughty poses, looking very arrogant and bossy. So, they're beautifully, artistic they're works of art. So these are the, idea of kings and warriors and queens, people in power, men and women in power, tend to, powerful symbols of strength and high position. How do they affect consciousness, Then near there is the Guimet Museum, which has a beautiful collection of Asian sculptures, and they have a beautiful collection of Khmer Buddha rupas, Cambodian Buddha rupas. So after looking at all these statues in the parks around the Eiffel Tower in Paris, you go into the museum, Guimet Museum, and then you have these, the Khmer, the old Khmer civilization, they sculpted stone. And some of these Buddha images that the French stole from Cambodia, and they have very well lighting, on them, so they're very calming, they represent peace and calm, coolness. So it is, in this sense of the human form, the Buddha Rupa as a human form, a mindful, composed state of awareness is, think of it like that, rather than seeing it in terms of aesthetics. Sometimes, we become, some Buddha Rupas we like and think are beautiful, and others we don't like, because they aren't beautiful. But the point is whether they're aesthetically pleasing or not is the reminding ability of a Buddha Rupa is wake up and be aware. So it's not an image that you can imagine, that there's all kinds of special powers in Buddha Rupas. We can project anything you want onto them. But in skillful means in meditation is to see them as icons, reminders of refuge, Bhutang Saranang Gacchami. So when we take refuge in Sangha, Sanghang Saranang Gacchami, it's like direct practice. Uju Patipano, one who practices directly. Insightfully. So that's in the sense of Sangha, you can, the external, we see the Bhikkhu Sangha, the monks sitting here, representing the Bhikkhu Sangha, wearing robes, shaven heads. But you don't take refuge in the Bhikkhu Sangha, like you don't take refuge in a Buddha Rupa. Or sometimes people think the Dhamma is a bookcase with a Tripitaka in it. So, when you go into a temple, you see Buddha Rupa, you bow to the Buddha Rupa and to the bookcase filled with books. Or you bow to the Sangha, the monk. These are external, these are still sankharas. So supatipano, ujapatipano, yayapatipano, samidhipatipano, these are when we reflect on Dhamma, it's direct practice, insight, reflection, observing the way things are. And this reflective ability that human beings have is the key to the door, the gate to the deathless is open. It's this mindfulness that is the door, the escape hatch from just being caught into the habitual patterns of thinking, of self-views, of emotions of love and hate, like and dislike, fear, resentment. So in this, talking about direct practice, this is what I've been encouraging during this past week. Which is here and now, isn't it? Mindfulness is here and now. It's not developing mindfulness. It's not about trying to become mindful, but being mindful. So this is where, in trusting yourself, trusting awareness, even if your mental state is confused or all over the place, you're full of wandering thoughts or negative feelings, take this sense of the direct practice. It's like this, being totally confused and that is like this. Having all these negative feelings is like this. This is direct. It's not judging, it's not trying to get rid of or change anything, but recognizing that emotions are like this, feelings are like this. They change, none of them, are permanent. But this awareness, is the thread that is permanent, where the beads on the thread can come and go and change. So this is why it is a refuge. It's not a temporary refuge, a shelter, that you have to, that's going to desert you when the storm comes. But it's a permanent refuge. As you rest in it, as you abide in awareness, trust awareness, And if you're going to identify with anything, identify with awareness rather than your thoughts. You know, if you need an identity with words, you can think, I am this awareness. This awareness is a refuge. But when you think, I am the body, then you're subject to heat and cold and old age and sickness, death, and so is the body something that you really want to take refuge in? Or your habit patterns, your emotional habits, you know, they're subject, the 8 worldly dhammas. You know, life in the world, in society, and family life, and all is about praise and blame, success and failure, happiness and suffering. So is it how to integrate, how to be mindful in daily life. You know, this is like a retreat, 10-day retreat is like being spoon-fed. It's everything's arranged and you just follow the schedule and you're silent, you don't have to socialize or, you know, your social obligations are just to be silent and still. Where in daily life we have to live with families, with our workers, in the society the way it is. In the world, we hear about endlessly of news and not very, you know, inspiring news of what's happening in the world. So, you know, then this is the conditioned realm. In Pali they call it samsara vata, the endless cycles of habit, of conditioned phenomena, being born and dying, renewing themselves endlessly. So when we want peace in the world, you know, that's a good ideal. We all like to have a world peace where everybody gets along and cooperates and shares. They have dana paramita, they're generous, they share what they have with others. They're morally dependable, they keep the 5 precepts. They meditate, they're mindful. That's the ideal world that we can create with thoughts, with the ability to perceive the very best of a human condition. You know, so that's, you know, like the Buddha Rupa is an example of the very best of the human condition, the human form sitting in awareness, like in the Buddha Rupa here in the sala. You can, you know, no matter what happens, if somebody gets murdered or there's war and the Buddha Rupa doesn't, you know, is not reacting to the actions that are taking place in front of it. But a Buddha Rupa is made out of bronze, brass, stone, and so forth. So it can only, you know, it doesn't have to deal with feeling, with sensitivity. Where all our lives, being in this human form, it's about sensitivity, it's about feeling. So we call it the sense realm, the senses, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, the body, the mind. So in this encouragement to take your stand with awareness, I'm emphasizing this, to leave this kind of, because this you can take with you into daily life, into busy life, family life, working life. Being aware of how your family affects you is like this. Being aware of how at your workplace, the people around you, the people in charge or the employees, it's like this. So it's not kind of accepting or it's not like approving of the way, it's not a kind of blinding yourself or fooling yourself, deluding yourself. But at this moment, this very moment, here and now, this moment can only be like this. Well, I'm sitting here, it's like this. And so I go into the reflective mode. It's like accepting the way it is, whether it's, it's peaceful or confusing or I like it or don't like it, it's like this. So in my experience as a monk in being head of a Sangha, being a Jawawat, an abbot of monastery, you have ideals of the perfect monastery. I remember when I first year at Wat Pa Pong with Luang Por Cha, I kind of idealized Wat Pa Pong. When I first went there, I idealized it, and this is I created my ideal monastery through that first year at Wat Pa Pong when it was, it was a pretty rough life, it was no electricity and so forth, but the kind of quality and the encouragement of the practice of the monks of Luang Por Cha. And because I couldn't speak Thai or Isan dialect, I didn't, I kind of created my own ideal Wat Pa Pong in my mind. And then as I learned the language and then became more aware of what was actually going on, I became critical. The critical mind came more. Because the critical mind, comparing it to the ideal I formed in the beginning, which was based on inspiration, but Ajahn Chah kept, this sense of being aware rather than trying to hold things to a standard, an ideal standard that you imagine. Like Luang Por Cha could adapt to change. When we went to England together in 1977, I was curious to see where he was so respected. We spent a week in Bangkok before we flew to London, and people were coming and bowing to him, and people were so polite, so respectful in Bangkok, and I thought, it's not going to be, not going to be treated like that in London. I wonder how he'll react. Is he dependent on this external respect and this cultural tradition, or what? I was curious. So I had the good fortune of traveling with him. First time on an airplane, And we flew, in that time, Thai International flew, you didn't have direct flights from Bangkok to London, so it would stop in Karachi in Pakistan, and then it would fly and land in Rome, and then from Rome to London. So Ajahn Chah and I were sitting together, and he seemed quite interested in what was going on. His first flight on an airplane, first time to go to a foreign country. And so we landed in Karachi at night, and then taking off, from Karachi airport, one of the tires on the landing gear exploded. So anyway, we got off the ground, flew up there, but when we came to Rome, we had to prepare ourselves for a rough landing. So we had to take all these precautions. Luang Por tried to remove his false teeth. And we had to, have our seat belts on and lean on the seat in front of us. And there was this kind of anxiety, and people on the flight to Rome were, they Luang Por, pray for us. They were kind of, so it was kind of, we didn't know quite what was happening, why all this emergency was happening, and I had to explain it to Ajahn Chah. And so then we had to fly over the Rome airport, where they identified that one of the tires on the landing gear was flat, So they landed with a flat tire. It was a bit rough, but it was not dangerous. So after we landed, Ajahn Chah and I stayed till everybody left the plane, and then and we had to leave the plane, and wait in a transit lounge in Rome. And Luang Por Chah, we were watching people leave the plane, and they forgot all about Luang Por Chah. And they were, and the pretty hostesses were saying goodbye, and that Luang Por Chah said, that's human nature for you. When you're in trouble, they look to the monk. When there's no danger, they look to the pretty woman. Oh, he did have a great sense of humor. So then, we disembarked from the airplane, and we had to get in one of these buses, that take you to the transit lounge. And because we were the last ones off the plane, they had to, there's only standing room only. And in the Thai etiquette, where monks weren't supposed to, be that close to women physically. And in Thailand, of course, it's taken for granted. That's, the Thai culture insists on that. But in Rome, you've got to do as the Romans do. And I watched Luang Por just before he stepped up onto the bus, and he looked, and he gave, he was mindful of the situation, and he just walked right in to the crowd, no problem. So, I began to see that Luang Por could adapt to different situations. He wasn't dependent upon everything being, done in a certain way. And his experience in London, and we took him to Edinburgh and places like that. It was just interesting to travel with somebody who had such an interesting way of interpreting experience. Because, being Western person myself, there's so much you just take for granted in your own society. But Luang Por Chah would be curious, why did they act like this? Why they noticed how people walk in London and in Edinburgh, and so and it's quite different from the way people walk and act in Bangkok. But I never really contemplated the difference, because when you take so much of your cultural conditioning for granted. But Luang Por Chah was seeing it through eyes that had never been in a European country before, never been out of Thailand. And he was interested. He wasn't afraid. I never detected any fear or aversion. He seemed to adapt to the out of necessity and out of respect for the country he was in. So this is mindfulness wisdom. Knowing time and place, being aware of the way it is, isn't always going to be the way you want it. But because of this intuitive awareness, we can adapt to changing conditions. We aren't going to be upset or depressed or frustrated because things aren't what we're used to. So in daily life, realize that it's not going to be a 10-day retreat when you leave here, but it is the way it is. And in that way, we can make suitable adaptations to change out of wisdom. Because this is the ability of our humanity to see through the illusory conditions that we create in our mind, to be able to respond, to adapt to changing conditions as they happen physically, as we get older, as our children grow up, as the society changes. There's so much of, people talking about Thailand isn't what it used to be. People, monks, or I've heard so many people contemplate about, the young generation doesn't have the respect for the Sangha it used to have, and Thai Buddhism, it's complaining about scandals about monks and so forth. We create, this sense of, at previous time Thailand was ideal, and now it's changing, and the younger generation doesn't have the manners, the same respect for the Sangha, the same respect for elders as my generation or my parents' generation. And this is complaining and observing, and it might be true. It's not complaints based on nothing, but to see that we can adapt to the changes. Because now, like Thailand's modern country, it's not just a rice-growing agricultural society like it was, and it's been influenced by Western values, Western education, Western ideas. So it's like this. I'm not saying that you can't return to what it was that you remember. Like back in the 1950s, in my youth, when I was young, we used to complain all the time about how boring life was. How everything was stuck in a kind of dead end in American society. And we, then we were young and idealistic, and we saw the kind of narrow-mindedness of our Christian parents and the kind of attitudes of, like, especially white middle-class Christians were very kind of dull and boring to me especially. And then the 60s came and it all changed. So suddenly, you get people now complaining, I wish we could go back to the 50s. But, that was my youth in the 50s, and we used to complain about that. So, on the worldly level, there's always a lot to complain about, in the worldly conditions, because they're not going to be what we, everything we wanted. But with reflective awareness and with wisdom, then our adaptations will be suitable to time and place, the conditions in the present. You can trust that.
थोड़ी देर करुणा ब्रह्म विहार का अभ्यास करते हैं। किताब दे देना। अपने प्रति और सभी समाज के प्रति जो भी लोग इस समय दुख में हैं, और इस समय शायद कोई बिरला ही होगा जो दुख अनुभव न कर रहा हो, ऐसी परिस्थिति है हमारे शहर में, हमारे देश में, सारे विश्व में। दुख को देख के करुणा जागे, व्यथा न हो, यह बहुत आवश्यक इसके लिए कि उतनी समता तो बनाए रखें, क्योंकि करुणा भाव साधना करने से, करुणा ब्रह्म विहार का अभ्यास करने से चित्त प्रसन्न होना चाहिए, बेचैन नहीं होना चाहिए। क्योंकि हम शुभ कामना कर रहे हैं, इच्छा कर रहे हैं कि सबकी दुख दूर हो, हम भी दुख दूर करने में सहायक बने, जिस तरह भी बन सकते हो, और जो दुख दूर करने में बाधाएं हैं वो सब हटें। ऐसी शुभकामना करते हैं। अपनी जितनी क्षमता है उसका इस्तेमाल करते हैं, और जो रिद्धि और सिद्धि वाले महापुरुष हैं, देवगण हैं, अरहंत हैं, बुद्ध हैं, उन सब की मैत्री, करुणा, कांति, सभी पारमियों के बल को आवाहन करके ये इच्छा करते हैं कि सबके दुख दूर हों, रोग से मुक्ति हो। तो करुणा का प्रस्फुटन करने के लिए हम जो हमने वर्सेस चुनी है उनका संगायन करते हैं। शरीर के प्रति ध्यान बनाते हुए वचसा मनसा चैव यन्दामेते तथागते सैनिधासने गमने चापि सर्वदा सदा सुखेन रक्षन्तु बुद्धा सन्ति करातुवं ते हि त्वं रक्षितो सन्तो मुक्तो भवभयेन च सर्वरोगविनिमुक्तो सर्वसन्तापवर्जितो सर्ववैरमतिकन्तो निवृत्तो च त्वं भव ते संसच्चेन शीलेन कान्ति मेत्ताबलेन च तेऽपि तुमे अनुरक्षन्तु आरोग्येन सुखेन च। चारों दिशाओं में जो महान विधि वाले प्राणी हैं उनकी आवाहन करते हुए पुरतिमस्मिन् दिशा भागे सन्ति भूता महिन्दिका तेऽपि तुम्हें अनुरक्षन्तु आरोग्येन सुखेन च दक्षिणस्मिन् दिशा भागे सन्ति देवा महिन्दिका तेऽपि तुम्हें अनुरक्षन्तु आरोग्येन सुखेन च पश्चिमस्मिन् दिशा भागे
सन्ति नागा
महिन्दिका तेऽपि तुम्हें अनुरक्षन्तु आरोग्येन सुखेन च उत्तरस्मिन् दिशा भागे सन्ति यक्खा महिन्दिका तेऽपि तुम्हें अनुरक्षन्तु आरोग्येन सुखेन च। चतुर महाराज देवा जो यहाँ के लोकपाल माने जाते हैं पृथ्वी के, उनके प्रति उनका आह्वान करते हुए पुरं दिशं दतरट्टो दक्षिणेन विरुल्लको पश्चिमेन विरूपको कुबेरोत्तरं दिशं चत्तारो ते महाराजा लोकपाला यशस्विनो देवी तुम्हें अनुरक्षन्तु आरोग्येन सुखेन
च
आकाशट्टा च
भूमट्टा
देवानागा महिन्दिका देवी तुम्हें अनुरक्षन्तु आरोग्येन सुखेन च। अब करुणा के भाव से शरीर को व्याप्त करते हुए फिर सभी दिशाओं में इन भावों को बढ़ाएंगे। थोड़ी देर शांति से बैठ जाते हैं। सभी प्राणियों को, सभी बंधुओं को, बहनों को याद करते हुए जो इस समय अत्यंत कठिनाई में है, बीमारी के कारण, प्रियों से बिछोह के कारण, आजीविका समाप्त होने के कारण, घरों में बंद होने के कारण, मन में करुणा का भाव कि उन सब के दुख शीघ्र दूर हों, परिस्थितियां बदलें, उनके मन में धर्म जागे ताकि वो दुख को ठीक से समझ पाए। सारे शरीर को करुणा की तरंगों से व्याप्त कर अब इसको दसों दिशाओं में एक एक करके प्रवाहित करते हैं। तो भगवान की जो आदेश हैं, मैं इन ब्रह्म विहारों के बारे में उनको याद रखते हुए करुणा सहगतेन चेतसा एकं दिशं परित्वा विहरति तथा द्वितीयं तथा तृतीयं तथा चतुर्थं इति युद्धम् अधोतिरियं सब्बदी सम्बद्धताय सब्भावन्तं लोकं करुणा सहगतेन चेतसा विपुलेन महगतेन अपमानेन अवीरेण अव्यापज्येन परित्वा विहरति। अनंत विपुल करुणा से सभी दिशाओं को व्याप्त करते हैं और सबके प्रति, सभी लोगों में, प्राणियों के प्रति और अपने प्रति करुणा का भाव। सभी दिशाओं की ओर करते हुए, जैसे मैं पहले क्यों कहा, उस डायरेक्शन में जो भी हम जिनको जानते हैं उस दिशा में उनको याद कर सकते हैं जो दुख में है, या उस दिशा में जो लोग हैं, अनगिनत लोग, अनजान लोग जो परेशान हैं या अस्पतालों में हैं, उनका ध्यान करके सबके प्रति करुणा का भाव। सतु माते भवतु अंतरायो सुखी दीर्घायुको भव, सुखी दीर्घायुको भव, सुखी दीर्घायुको भव। अब थोड़ी देर कृतज्ञता ज्ञापन, आभार उन सभी का, डॉक्टरों, मेडिकल स्टाफ, पुलिस वाले, सिक्योरिटी स्टाफ, सामान लोगों को पहुंचाने वाले, जो इतनी कठिनाइयों में, इतने खतरे की परिस्थिति में भी अपने काम में लगे हुए हैं, और उन सब के प्रति करुणा का भाव, जो ऐसा करते हुए बीमार हो गए हैं, उन सब के प्रति अत्यंत आभार, धन्यवाद। तो उनके साथ अपने पुण्य साझा करते हैं, पुण्य समर्पित करते हैं। पुण्यस्य इदानि याना अन्यानि कथानि मे, ते संच भागिनो हन्तु सत्तानन्तपमानका। आप सभी की सुख की कामना करते हुए सभी की दृष्टि सम्यक हो, ताकि दुख के कारणों को ठीक से समझ सके, ऐसी शुभकामना करते हुए समापन करेंगे। सबे सत्ता सुखी होन्तु, सबे होन्तु सुखिनो, सबे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा किञ्चित् पापमागमः, मा किञ्चित् दुःखमागमः। सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वबुद्धानुभावेन सदा सुखी भवन्तु ते भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वधर्मानुभावेन सदा सुखी भवन्तु ते भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वसङ्घानुभावेन सदा सुखी भवन्तु ते। अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवा बुद्धं भगवन्तं अभिवादे स्वागतो भगवता धम्मो धम्मं नमस्सामि सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो संघं नमामि